What do you mean you straight today is Thursday? Brother, be honest with me, brother. Are you straight? Are you gay? What?
I really want to solve a problem.
With the Malcolm X photo?
Yeah, what's going on?
All right. Are you homosexual, bisexual, trans woman, or heterosexual?
Yo, your question, and I know your intentions is to not be disrespectful. So as somebody in the community, I will say
somebody in what community?
In the queer community, that
okay.
Your approach is a bit harsh in terms of your language.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, because I'm here to be educated, my brother.
For sure.
Okay, I'm here to be educated, and we're here to educate you guys as well. And of course, we all coming in the spirit of respect. Now, when I ask people if they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, or heterosexual, I'm asking that so I can understand their personal frame of reference. So, for example, last night's conversation was about light skin supremacy and dark skin supremacy in the Black community. So everyone who came on, I asked them, are you light skin, brown skin, dark skin, or mixed race? So I need you to explain to me, my brother, when I ask you, are you homosexual, bisexual, trans woman, or heterosexual, why is that considered harsh?
Because that language is for you. I said I'm in the queer community, so that.
Okay, so how does, and again, I want you to educate me. You're in the queer community. How does queer differ from homosexual, bisexual, trans woman? Queer means what? Educate me.
Just in the community. I mean, you will really have to sit down and you're trying to talk political, so I'm trying to talk politics too.
Okay. Well, tell me what it means to you to be queer. Because when you say you're queer, you're saying that you're not. Are you saying that you are or you are not homosexual, bisexual, or trans woman? When you say queer,
I am not straight.
Okay, you're not straight. Stay with me. Okay, because I'm learning. You're not. Stay with me.
I am.
Okay, you're not straight. I got that part. You're not homosexual either. Is that correct?
Yeah, see, that's where it's funny, because I'm sure when you say homosexual, you're talking about two cis men, right? Two gay men.
No. Right? When I say homosexual, for me, a man having romantic interactions with another man,
right,
is homosexuality. No. So you do not have relations with other men?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you're not homosexual, so which automatically means you can't be bisexual, right? Because if you don't have relations with men, you're not bisexual either. You're not a trans woman. So help me out, my brother. You see me trying to get some clarity from you. What does queer mean? That means your sex is what? What do you do? What is queer? We trying to learn from y'all now. Y'all can't get upset at us, and we trying to understand you. What is queer?
Yeah, so you're trying to understand, right?
Queer, yes. What does queer? You said you're queer. What does...
You're trying to understand what I do in the bedroom or what my political ideology is?
Both. What does queer mean? Sexually, what is a queer? I would like to know that. And politically, where do you stand?
So queer by definition means weird and has been, reclaimed to an extent politically and socially and culturally by the quote-unquote non-heterosexual community, because there's lots of labels and ways in which people identify. It's not very stringent as the quote-unquote LGBTQ alphabet, but queer just means pretty much, outside of the norms, outside of the stringent relations. So talking about outside of that.
Okay, question for you. So you could engage in homosexual relations as a queer person, correct?
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. So queer is you're not choosing any specific. You're not choosing homosexual. You're not choosing bisexual. You're just queer. You're outside of the heterosexual dichotomy.
Absolutely.
I got you.
That's a pretty good, intro.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. I assumed by your voice that you were born a biological male. Was I correct in that assumption?
I would probably stay away from assumptions.
Well, I'm at okay. No. Well, what were you born? Were you born biologically a man or a woman?
I also would challenge this idea that those are the only two options, but we haven't gotten to the politics. So are we doing
but no, we going right to the politics. But can I get some clarity on that though, my brother? Because again, y'all cannot be hypocritical. And what I mean by that, when we're trying to understand you, now we might forever disagree, but I at least want to understand you. There's people who disagree with me, but I at least want them to understand me. I don't care if they disagree with me, but I want them to understand what they're disagreeing with. I don't want them disagree with me for what I really stand for, not for what you think. So when you just said you would disagree that man and woman are not the only two gender options at birth, could you give me some additional gender assignments that can occur at birth? Because I thought you could only be born a man or a woman. So how else can you come out of your mother at birth?
Well, firstly, you were born a baby. Secondly, as it regards your sex, there are also intersex individuals who are anywhere it is a spectrum in terms of your biological or your physical makeup, whether that's your secondary sex characteristics, your hormonal levels, your genitalia, all of these things.
I understand. Some folks are born. Some folks are born different. What were you born?
Okay.
What were you born?
I was assigned female at birth.
Okay, you were assigned female at birth. And how do you? I know you mentioned queer. Now, is queer sexual orientation or is queer also a gender preference?
Yeah.
It's both.
It's all the above.
It's all of the above. Okay, so when you say you're queer, you're not assuming man and woman, and you're not assuming any particular sexual orientation.
Facts.
Got you. Thank you for that education. Give me your politics, my brother. What is it that the heterosexual black community needs to understand about you in particular and the black LGBT movement in general? Give us some political positions.
The first thing black people need to understand is that the experience of black people is their primary experience, period.
Okay.
They're just like you cannot choose to be heterosexual before you choose to be black, right? If that is a choice you make,
okay,
you are seen as black before anybody knows what you got going on.
I agree.
The blackness is just the experience. So I think it is, even though it may not be intended to be disrespectful, to ask somebody if they're gay first or if they are black first, it is a facetious point at this point.
I don't think it's facetious though, my brother. And the reason excuse me, my sister, the reason I'm saying that, and I want your response, is because a lot of black LGBTQs, they wave that flag and they only come out to protest or stand up when it involves the sexual agenda. You don't see them when it involves regular black issues. I'm not talking about all of y'all, but I don't think you can call it facetious. We cannot assume that black LGBTs feel that they are black first, because I've heard black LGBTs say that they were not black first, I've heard some say they were gay first or queer first. I've had others say that they were both. So not everybody in your community, good sister, assumes black first.
Out of respect, Prince.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep it to a strict he, him pronoun on this page.
Okay, I got you.
Make things super simple.
Okay.
And I hear what you're saying. I would urge like people in the crowd, yourself included, to do a little bit of a digging, because there are quite a few queer, homosexual, gay, whatever you want to call them, leading figures in terms of black liberation politics.
Oh, I agree with that. But don't confuse the individuals with the group, though. You understand?
No.
That's just like saying you know a couple gangster rappers who don't spew misogyny in their music, or you know a couple gangster rappers who don't promote light-skin supremacy. Just because you might know a couple rappers who don't use profanity in their music, the truth of the matter is the hip-hop genre, you understand, is a very skin color prejudiced community. You understand? So you can't say just because a few people are looking out for the whole black community, that means the whole LGBT family is looking out for the whole black community. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I mean, I could say that for any particular demographic within the Black community.
I agree. I agree with that.
Particularly, and I think you would agree with this also, particularly heterosexual Black men.
What about them?
I find that a lot of these protests to protect Black men from police brutality have been led by Black women and Black queer folk, and that's just being present at them. I also think that it is it's difficult to think that people are choosing their sexuality first. I mean, when people choose to ascend in terms of class to lead the majority of Black people and exploit the majority of Black population, you're Pan-African, right?
Yes.
Right, and so we understand that, you know, class exploitation is extremely prevalent, especially globally when it comes to Black bodies, right?
True. Racism is worse, though.
Right. So what do you think that the not the new house Negroes, but the continued house Negroes are those who are actually sitting in the house with the white people, class wise?
Okay. If they're sitting in the house with the white people, the question becomes: are they advocating for us, or are they simply there to collaborate with the oppressor?
Are they?
I don't know. Who are we speaking of?
I mean, I would say roughly, I don't believe that there is a middle class, so I wouldn't even address those who are making under $1 million or so a year. But those who have ascended past that marker of middle class status, what do you think that do you not think that
most of them are lined up with the white power structure? Most of them are lined up with the white power structure.
So I would say, in terms of my politic, that anti-capitalism is primary in terms of protecting Black people globally.
Anti-racism, Queen. Anti-racism.
I also...
You follow me? There would be no classism without the racism. White supremacy invented capitalism. Capitalism didn't invent white supremacy. Let me ask you this. If you take away class, do you still have racism?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So racism is the issue. In other words, let's destroy racism and its capitalist child.
Okay, so I would say that capitalism as a mode, as a global mode, was born out of the transatlantic slave trade, was born out of white supremacist ideology, etc. It is racialized capitalism. There is no separate. So when I say capitalism, I'm insinuating the inherency of racial and white supremacist ideology embedded in that.
What is your position on the Black LGBT community uniting with and integrating with the white LGBT community? Where are you on that? Are you an LGBTQ integrationist? Are you a nationalist? Do you believe y'all should fight your own fight separate from the whites?
No, I'm pro-Black, and I would urge, you know, the rest of Black people to hop on that bandwagon to protect all Black people, regardless of if they are cis heterosexual men or any of the other bodies who are typically experiencing intracommunal violence from cis heterosexual men. But yeah, so no, I think that the only people who are the closest that we can even get to in terms of like the house Negroes or the weakest links or the people who are exploiting us the most are actually straight and are actually men, because they are able to ascend in this patriarchal society in particular ways, whether you want to look at statistics, whether you want to look at intracommunal violence, whether you want to, I mean, whatever you want to look at.
Okay,
right? I don't think
are you talking about straight Black men? You're not saying straight Black men are the culprits, are you?
Culprits of what?
Of what you just spoke of, those ills, the exploitation and all of that, because Black men.
So I made two different points. I said that one, if we're going to talk about people who are quote unquote in the house Negroes, right, are the people who are able to ascend most and even participate in the exploitation of, right, quote unquote field niggas, right? And so that has to do with class. That also has to do with the fact that we live under patriarchy, right? So that also has to do with the fact that you have men. But then if you also want to look at violence in our communities, right, perpetuating violence, I am pro-Black. I would like to reduce / eliminate the amount of violence experienced within Black communities. And so oftentimes, intra-communally, because we know violence is proximity-based, right? Black, cis, which means you born a man and you still identify as a man.
Wait, and clarify again, Z, what was your gender assigned at birth?
Well, I don't understand the relevancy of that.
No, because you answered it early. I just want to remember because somebody said I called you queen because I thought you said your gender assigned at birth was a female. Was that correct?
No. I said I was queer. I said I was queer throughout this process.
No. I got the queer part, but what was your gender assigned at birth?
Right, I was assigned female at birth.
Okay, you was assigned female at birth. That's why I called you queen. Okay, so because somebody I'm on fan base, just so you know, Z, as we have the conversation, I'm on my Facebook and I'm on fan base, and somebody on fan base said, "Did you call a man queen?" But you was assigned the gender of female at birth, so I was appropriate. I thought they were saying I was misrepresenting. Okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
You are misrepresenting me, but
okay, so
concerned with the language.
No, I want to be educated, Z. No, I want to be educated, sis. When I call you queen or sister, based on the gender you was assigned at birth, is that disrespectful to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, why is it disrespectful to you, and what would you prefer I call you?
Well, you can stay away from the royals because...
No, that's just who I am. You don't have no control over that. Do you understand where I'm coming? No. I want you to make sure you stay within the zone of what is eligible to be critiqued. In other words, I have black women who will say, "Don't call me queen." It's not up to them because calling black women queen is second. Stay with me. It's second nature. You understand? It's like I'll call a grandmother queen mother. She might say, "I don't want to be called queen mother." It don't matter. I'm going to give you the title of respect, whether you like it or not. So for you, getting away from the royals, calling you sister would be disrespectful if I understand you. Correct?
If we working in the politics, you can call me comrade.
Okay, but comrade is political. Comrade is political. Absolutely. What would be the appropriate gender pronoun for you?
He, him.
He, him is a one? That's one?
He, him. I mean, it's a pronoun. You asked for the pronoun.
No. But what I'm saying is he, him, one pronoun, because that's two words. So is that a hyphen between them, or are you giving me two options? Are you saying call me he or call me him? Or is he, him a single descriptor? You follow where I'm coming from?
I mean,
are you putting those two together or those?
No.
Okay. So even though you was assigned female at birth, you identify as he. Am I correct?
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Yes.
Okay. I got you now. Yeah. I got you now. Yeah. Let me go to the next.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah. Peace and love, brother. Are you homosexual, bisexual?
I don't want to disclose. I don't think that it's relevant. I think the people who know in the audience, they know.
But I need to know, brother, because you're having a conversation with me.
Well,
I mean,
is it Thursday? I'm straight today. It's Thursday.
What do you mean you straight today is Thursday, brother? Be honest with me, brother. Are you straight? Are you gay? What?
I really want to solve a problem.
Okay, and I'm gonna let you solve that problem, Brandon. But Brandon, tell me how you identify, brother. What's wrong with telling me?
I'm poor.
You're poor. I'm asking about your sexual orientation, brother. Come on now.
I've been here for a while. I don't mind sharing that with you.
Just tell me, brother, and then you can go right into your point. I just want to know your frame of reference, brother.
How about allow me the courtesy of going into my point?
Okay, go ahead. I'm with you. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Brother.
So, what I think you're looking at, if the question is to be legitimized, is what you're really examining is a particular thing that plagues all black movement, which is vibrational disharmony. You've got people who appear to be in community, people who seem to share a perspective or a desire for justice, but when you sort of investigate and interrogate their value system or their priorities, you realize that there's a lot of distance between why some people are showing up and why other people are showing up, and that we're not all actually actively trying to achieve these big radical systemic changes.
Okay.
But I think the core issue with your question is suggest that the only predators or the only traitors on the plantation landscape were house Negroes, when in fact there were people who were in the fields who also executed traitorism, that also executed being predators.
That is correct. That is correct.
And so I think that politically, in terms of value added, in terms of the weight that's been carried by one particular subgroup of black people or the other. I do think that it's important to humble people who call themselves straight.
What do you mean by humbling people who call themselves straight? What do you mean by that?
I'll make the point that very much so you are a myth as it relates to the volume and the weight of what you contributed to any of the radical movements around the black community. I mean, you've been present, but mostly for cerebral labor. But the places in which people experience harm, violence, negligence, I should say neglect, being in community but out of community at the same time, but also adding really invaluable things to our master narrative of progress as black people on the globe. Well, those people had some lean toward what the good brother described earlier, Z described earlier as queerism, and you've used terms like homosexuality and some other things.
Is there something wrong with using the word homosexuality?
Well, no, I don't think that, but I do think if you want to assert your straightness, again, if you want to assert that, I do think you have to understand that even tone matters in trying to investigate that, and that in many cases, like I heard you say something earlier with regard to I can't judge you or I'm not against it. Well, you're in no position of authority to judge or be against it because you don't exist in a hierarchy based off your expression of sexuality in proximity to someone else's expression.
But we're talking about us exclusively within the black community, my brother. So we're not dealing with the larger hierarchy of the white power structure. We're talking about us living in the same community as black people. What exactly does LGBTQ stand for so heterosexuals can better understand your movement? Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it, but at least we can understand you.
You just said it again. Not that we're necessarily going to agree with it,
because we may not. Some people might, some people may not. There's people who agree with me and there's people who don't. That's just a part of life, Brother Brent.
But you would not make that same statement as to say you may not agree with me being straight. You wouldn't say that same thing. And so in making that statement, which seems very passive and unaggressive, you're making a very problematic assertion about the authority that straightness has over anything else, as if everything else is alternative to straightness, which in fact I'd argue it's not.
Okay, do this for me, Brother Brent. I got you. Can you?
The word of the day is syllogism.
Okay.
You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to truly under white supremacy.
Wait, say that again. You do not choose sex. Give me.
You do not have sex or choose partners in the way that you would like to.
We do not have sex or choose partners in the way we would like to under white supremacy. What do you mean by that?
That in some very unfortunate ways, wherever you see yourself on what they call a spectrum, that we are all inhibited and restricted in how we express ourselves through procreation, through partnership, through community, through the very simple function of the orgasm, as it relates to the way that we are all under the surveillance of white supremacy that basically says that has always said and continues to say very subtly that black sex should be illegal, that it is amoral, that our sexuality is something other, in the same way that you, as a straight person, would like to other this thing, homosexual, queer. White supremacy certainly others black sexuality, all black sexuality. Understand that. The white supremacy others and takes away the normality and the value of all black sexuality. It's always important when you're on a stage that when a person makes an important statement that you amplify that statement. And I would agree with the good brother Z. Anti-capitalism is primary.
No, it's not. White supremacy is primary. White supremacy invented capitalism.
We would agree. I said I would agree.
I understand that. And I'm just clarifying my position that without white supremacy, there is no capitalism. They invented it. Capitalism is the economic system of white supremacy.
Are there LGBTQ agents and ops in the black community? Yes.
I'm sure.
But are there also are there straight agents and ops in the black community? Yes.
I agree. Yes, sir. Nobody said it wasn't. I didn't say that the LGBT community represents the sum total of all degeneracy in the black community. I never said that.
And we know that's true because we understand that we can experience anti-blackness in predominantly black spaces. And so I hope that your conversation evolves to somewhat of a solutions-oriented thing, but I would caution you.
But you didn't give us a single solution, Brother Brandon. How are you going to say you want the conversation to evolve to solutions, my brother? You didn't give us not one solution.
Well, I have a book of them. Do you really want them? Or
Sure.
should I make policy? I run a policy group. It's called Campaign X.
Okay, so in Campaign X, can I ask you a question? And then we got to let you go to move on to some more speakers. But I appreciate you, Brother Brandon, for joining us, brother. What are the 3 major policies you're working on right now in your policy group? Quickly, name the 3 major policies you're working on.
A $33 minimum wage. We also need to rewrite HR 40 so that we can distribute equitably reparations in this country. And statehood for the District of Columbia to ensure that they receive electoral vote representation and also receive legitimate representation of in both houses of Congress, and a structured government that ideally would be majority black and ideally would elevate policies that would improve the overall quality of life for all Washingtonians, whether or not, I should say residents of the Douglas Commonwealth. Even though that's not where I live, I went to school there and have been deeply immersed in an understanding of the hardships that have historically been faced by blacks there. So $33 minimum wage, rewrite the reparations bill, because it is not equitable, it's not trustworthy at this point, and statehood for the District of the Douglas Commonwealth.
And I can respect that. And I can respect that. And all 3 of those that you mentioned, it sounds like they would benefit all black people, not just LGBTQ, correct?
I would say that every single one of those policies for me was drafted from the Constitution, from me constituting myself from the position of the queer and bi and gay members of our society. And that's what makes it more valuable for everybody else.
Huh? So I didn't understand that. Those policies will benefit all black people, correct? That includes gay and straight, correct?
Yes, I just made the important observation that when writing those policies, I didn't constitute myself from seeing myself as a straight black man.
No, not as a straight black man, but as a member of the a member of the black community, correct?
And identifying which identities in my community face the greatest systemic hardships and the greatest exclusion, intercommunity, intraracial, interracial, and it would be true that in all of those particular situations that there has to be some hyper focus on people who have disabilities, people who have social disabilities, people who have socially disadvantaged identities, and yes, those are LGBTQ people.
Okay, so you saying so Brandon, Brandon, in your reparations bill, you have a special component of reparations just for the LGBTQ.
In the discourse, in the actual bill, no, but in the discourse that's going to lead to what will become a bill, yeah, there's a particular focus group for the interest of black identifying, black activists, black abolitionists, queer identity. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Thanks a lot for that, Brother Brand.
There is an interest group for disabled persons, as there is an interest group for elder persons to contribute to this policy. But we begin at the level at which we see the most harm being done, and we cannot deny that in fact the group that you are choosing to discourse about today fit into that.